I've been teaching piano for 11 years now, and in that time, I've had the chance to guide hundreds of students on their piano journey. When you do something for that long, you start to notice patterns. You start to figure out what really makes a difference in the long run. And when I compare this with my own journey, I start to realize there's some things I did right, but there's also some things I did wrong. So what I want to do is I want to save you some time and some frustration and give you 5 things I wish I knew when I was starting out. Number 1, think about your goals. One thing I started to realize is that playing piano, or any instrument for that matter, it's not just one skill. It's a few different skills stacked on top of each other. Being able to play fluidly and in time, that's one skill. Being able to sight read is another skill. And now we do need to have all of these skills, but what you focus on first depends on what you want to do. Right? If you want to learn to read church hymns, then your priority is going to be sight reading. But if your goal is to write music, then you're probably going to want to train your ear first. Now, I've seen dozens of people quit their lessons because they weren't focusing on what they wanted to do. So first thing is decide what you want to get out of learning from the beginning, so that way you can make sure that you're on the right course. Number 2 is going to be to focus on technique early. The most frustrating thing by far about piano is that your brain and your hands, they're not connected. And so because of this, we can develop some bad habits. And if not corrected, these habits can lead to some issues down the road. The biggest one that I've seen by far is avoiding fingers that feel uncomfortable. You might be able to play whatever you're trying to play while doing that, but if you continue to avoid it, then it's just simply not going to develop. It's kind of like basketball, right? If you avoid dribbling or shooting with your offhand, then it's not going to develop. And as you face tougher and tougher opponents, that's going to affect you more and more. And so this is one that I personally struggled with for a long time. I'm self-taught, so for the longest time, I played with flat fingers, and sometimes I even still do it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but as I started to play harder things, I started to have some issues. And so I spent a lot of time fixing those bad habits, and I don't want you to have to do that. So I want to warn you, focus on technique early, especially if you're self-taught. Number 3 is keep a practice schedule. Try to practice at the same time every day. And listen, I know that everybody's busy. I have 2 kids under 4, so trust me, I get it. When you have a specific time of day that you practice though, it becomes automatic. You don't have to sit and try to find time to practice. The time is already there. And one of the key principles with this is a little bit every day goes further than a lot every now and then. I'm going to repeat that because that's very important. A little bit every day goes further than a lot every now and then. And so with this, it's also important to talk about what practice is. So practicing, when done right, it's not just sitting down and playing. It's very methodical. It's identifying a specific thing that you want to work on and playing it until you finally start to see some improvement. It's practicing with a metronome and keeping track of your BPMs so that way you can see your improvement. It's also recording your practices. See, when you're playing your instrument, your attention is split between performing and listening. When you record yourself, you can just focus on listening, and it's guaranteed that you're going to hear some things that you wouldn't have heard while you're playing. Number 4 is that music theory is your friend. Music theory gets a bad rep for being hard. I get it. There's a lot of terms, it's a lot of things to memorize, and you're wondering, how does this help me play? But here's what you need to realize. Your ears are just as important as your hands when it comes to playing piano. I'm going to say that again because that is also very important. Your ears are just as important as your hands when it comes to playing piano. Now, technical exercises, that's what connects your hand and your brain together. But music theory, when you learn it right, is what connects your ears and your brain together. And what makes it hard is when you don't use your ears and you're just trying to memorize everything. See, when you learn to understand the system, You don't just see a bunch of random notes together. You start to see the whole picture. And lastly, number 5 is that this is a long-term game. So one thing I realized is that there's never a moment where you've arrived. There's always more that you can learn, and most people honestly need to lift their expectations from a year to maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. You can see a lot of progress in a year, but there's always more to learn. To me, I look at it like this. Music is kind of like martial arts, right? Where it's a practice, meaning that it's a lifelong pursuit where the goal is within itself. If Floyd Mayweather was the last person on earth, he would still probably go to the boxing gym. If LeBron was the only person in the world, he would probably still play basketball. So if you've committed to learning to play piano, then guess what? You're a pianist. You don't become a pianist once you can play the hardest Chopin etudes, or you can improvise in every key. You're a pianist now. And so by taking on the identity of a pianist, you start to embody the things that a pianist would do. And when you do that, everything we mentioned earlier gets easier and easier. All right, so what are your thoughts? Did I leave anything off the list? Let me know down in the comments. And if you made it this far, you might as well like the video. It doesn't cost you anything. And make sure you subscribe because, yeah. All right, see you in the next one.